Welcome to the Marvelous Moms Club podcast. Discover yourself, break out of mediocrity, and become the mom you've always aspired to be. Here's your host, Kirsten Tyrell.
Hello, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to today's episode of the Marvelous Moms Club podcast. So I am joined by, I'm just going to call her Supermom because I think she's pretty incredible just from the little bit that I know about her. She was referred to me by another marvelous mom who's been on the podcast, the lovely Lauren, and I'm excited to talk to her and hear her story. She's got a very unique perspective raising her kids and keeping her life on track. So without further introduction, welcome Jayna to the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's great to have you. We're talking late in the evening after the kids have gone to bed. Your brain's probably winding down. If you're like me, I just turn into a bowl of mush towards the end of the evening.
This is actually when I start getting my second wind, so I think we'll be okay, hopefully.
Good. I guess that's true. There's an hour lag time where I have food coma from dinner, and then after that I'm like, oh man, I got a lot of work to do. So
yeah, that golden hour.
Yeah.
Okay. No, the kids are in bed. Got some me time.
Yep. It's important time. So how many kids do you have, and how old are they?
I have 2 kids. My daughter Parker is 5 and my son Eames is 3.
Perfect. So we both have that in common. My son's name is Parker and he's 4. So we both love the name Parker.
Yes.
That's awesome. So cool. And you're a stay-at-home mom, right?
Yes.
Do you, when did you stop working, right? When you had kids? Or did you work for a little bit and then decide to stay home?
Yeah, I stopped working the day before I had Parker.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And you live in the San Francisco area, which we were just talking about before we started talking in front of all of you guys, how much I love the San Francisco area. So what kinds of cool things do you get to do there with your kids?
I don't know. It's nice because you have the beach that's so close and then the city, and then not too far away you have mountains and the woods. And so it's kind of a really neat area, and you can drive an hour or half an hour or 2 hours in any way, and you have something cool to kind of go explore and see.
That's awesome. Do you get out with your kids a lot, or do you like to stay home?
We do, because I'm not sure the pricing out here for houses. We have a pretty small place, so we get stir crazy if we don't get out too much. But luckily the weather is good, and it allows us to do that quite often. So
yeah, that's a nice perk. That's how I feel living in Southern California. If we didn't have nice weather, there's no way I could live in this small apartment.
Totally.
Yeah, we're in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 kids, so I totally understand the stir crazy. I'm dying right now. My kids run up and down the hall, and that's their exercise.
Right, yeah. We do donkey kicks, dance parties.
Awesome. I love it.
Stuff like that.
So tell me a little bit more about you and maybe some of the stuff that you've had to overcome as a parent, some of the struggles you've had. I know that you've had some food allergy issues, so tell me about that.
Yeah, so my husband has food allergies, and we didn't really ever think anything of it. He was I throw up sometimes when I eat watermelon. I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. But and then he had eczema as a kid. And then my daughter, she started having eczema around 5 or 6 months, and pretty bad on her cheeks. And we were living in Las Vegas at the time, so we're kind of maybe it's the dryness. And her pediatrician had suggested getting a food allergy test, but at that time when they're that young, they usually do a bunch of blood work, and I just kind of felt bad doing that. I don't know at the time, so I was I don't know, just kind of put it off. So I nursed her till I was 13 months, and then she was 13 months, not me. Sorry. Mommy brain. But anyway,
it's real, people.
And then right when you're introducing the foods to them about that age, we gave her egg, and it was really bad. It was a ambulance ride, paramedics, firefighters kind of thing. And then that's when we learned that she had food allergies, and then we were able to get her tested and found out that she had some more severe food allergies and different types. So she's egg tree nut, peanut, flaxseed, and mustard seed.
Oh
So
my
she has
goodness.
all of those. And then, so we kind of were like stressing out dealing with that in the beginning because it's such an unknown thing. And then having her, like, watching her body go through that reaction,
Mm-hmm.
being so little, like, it terrified us. Like, we were like,
Oh yeah.
scared for that to ever happen again. And then my son, he was having super bad eczema, even more so than she did when he was a little baby. So I was like, it's got to be the food allergy thing. So I started cutting things out, eliminating things from my diet to try to figure it out. And um, nothing was really working or helping it. So we had some friends that were like into like the oils.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, really? Like, this is like Harry Potter stuff, like mixing potions and stuff.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
But it worked. And so we cleared up his whole back. We got him allergy tested. We found out it was dairy. And I removed that from my diet. And it actually was a huge blessing in disguise because I've suffered from asthma my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple months later, it's gone. I mean,
Wow.
yeah. So I think I was sensitive to it too. He's way allergic to it.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
so grocery shopping got really tricky. In the
I bet.
beginning, it was like maybe an extra hour or two reading everything. But once you get like the idea of what they can have, or like you have that on your list,
Mm-hmm.
it gets easier. And then we just added more produce and things that we know that they're not allergic to that we
Wow.
can handle. So our food's kind of bland, but it's safe, so it's good.
Yeah.
But we're getting a lot better, and we're not as stressed out about it. It was really stressful in the beginning.
I bet you're checking every
Yeah.
label and you never know
Yeah,
when stuff's gonna be hiding in things. That's so
right.
scary.
Yeah, I would have like everybody wash their hands after they eat, or if she was like sitting next to somebody holding something like a peanut butter sandwich, I'm like, can I just move her this over here?
Oh.
But just not knowing how she was going to react to things. But now, like, getting an idea of like she can sit by somebody
Mm-hmm.
eating that and she's fine as long as she doesn't touch it or, it doesn't get on her. So,
Oh my goodness, that is so crazy. I can't even imagine. I think every mom goes through a moment with your kids where you're just like, oh man, I have to do this. Like you just wait, you just think it's going to be run of the mill, parenting is hard, blah, blah, blah. Then you're given something like that and you're like, oh, this is more than just a little hard. This is like my
yeah.
unique little thing that I get to figure out and nobody else around me is doing this. That's
Right.
that's really overwhelming. So you guys are kind of past the scary stage of it now. You're just adapted and
Yeah.
you're going with it. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're going with it. It's getting a little bit easier with them knowing and understanding their allergy. And
Yeah.
we brought like a little book called like Food Allergies and Me, and um, they both have like grown up reading that. So
That's good.
they know how to like explain it to other people. And Parker is pretty good at asking before ever like taking food from anybody or anything. He's like, does this have this in it? So Eames is a little bit younger, so he's not there yet, quite there yet, but
Yeah, but you're at least able to be with him more of the time too to monitor what he
yes,
gets. That's good.
definitely. Yeah.
Amazing. So I think it's really cool anytime somebody has to do that and whittle everything out of their diet because it shows you truly like what is important. And I don't know, there's people who have it far worse. My husband had a boss who was actually allergic to like everything except for, I don't know, I think she might have even been allergic to lettuce. Such a really hard way to live.
Oh
Like
my
just
gosh.
terrible, terrible stuff. She could only eat like two foods and she cheated all the time and got really sick.
Oh, it's horrible.
But that's
Oh,
such a
so sad.
cool, like it's such a cool grounding thing to discipline as a family, not discipline each other, but just to find like, okay, we're all in this together. We're going to bond through this. This is going to be, just the way it is. Like no need to whine about it. I mean, I'm sure it was
Yeah.
hard, but that's really cool. Good for
Yeah.
you.
There's times where like I like feel a little bit for them, like when we're at like a birthday party and
Yeah.
they can't have the cake, but I always try to like make something or like, oh,
Mhm.
we can have a treat later. We'll go get an Oreo or something that they can have where they don't feel left out
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. So I always kind of try to have like a backup for that.
That's good.
Yeah, so I mean, like you said it, like I feel like what we've been dealt with, like it could have been way worse. And like there's just so much more out there that like if this is it right now, I can do this.
Mhm.
It was stressful at first, but we can do this. And like you said, like it's kind of like that we have bonded in a way over it. I hadn't even think about that, but we do. Like we don't get to go out to eat as much because there's just always that risk, but
Mhm.
we can, instead of going out to eat, we can be like, well, what do we want to make together tonight and kind of have fun with that. So
That's cool. Awesome.
yeah.
I love it. So something else about you, you are not an exercise guru or
No.
you're not exercise addicted, but you have done some pretty awesome things. And I know that you liked listening to the episode with Laura. So tell me about that. Like you're a runner. You were just telling me that you ran obstacle courses. Is that what it was?
Yeah. So I kind of have always been like the person that if someone's like, hey, you want to try this thing? I'm like, okay. So running has kind of taken me through a lot of really cool stuff. I started running in high school, well, actually middle school, and then did track and field in high school, and then actually ended up on a wrestling team.
Oh, wow.
Because all of the boys that I would run with during cross country and track, there was the off season, and I was living in Michigan at the time, and it was like snow out, you can't really run outside. Then they would run for wrestling. They'd put on like all their sweats and like, why don't you come run with us? I'm like, okay. And then
Why not?
the coach is like, do you want to wrestle for this weight class? I'm like, all right.
How
He
funny.
didn't know I was going to do it, but I was like, sure, I'll do it. And then, yeah, it's funny. I was a female wrestler for a little bit.
How awesome.
And then what else? So I did triathlons for a little bit, and then some marathons before kids. And then I had a couple of miscarriages, so I kind of traded that for walking just to be safe. I didn't really know what was like happening there. So once I got on progesterone and was doing like the walking and stuff with my husband, it seemed to work out better for me. So I kind of stayed away for a little bit. But yeah, my body would I would have like dreams about running when I was pregnant. Like I would
Aw.
wake up from a dream like, oh,
I wish that was real.
yeah.
See, the rest of us, we dream we're running and we are not really running. And you're actually like running in your dreams because you can't run in real life. Very backwards, but very cool.
Yeah, and then the obstacle races were really fun, but I would just get super hurt all the time.
I
There's
bet.
people out there who could do it and they're okay, but I don't know if I'm like accident prone because it was fun, and I
Yeah.
got like in the same sense that I'll do anything, like if I do something, I kind of like want to try to get at least good or like decent at it. So I trained a lot. I would wake up at like 4 a.m. and train for that kind of stuff, and
Wow.
it's pretty crazy. But
Yeah.
I'm going over to focusing more on running this year, and luckily my training schedule has changed to the nighttime now, so it's not as like severe as 4 a.m. But
Yeah.
sometimes
I hear you there.
yeah.
Well, if you get your second wind at night, then that's really good, right?
Yeah, it's working out.
Good. And you're a rock climber too.
Yes, that's a new thing that was started with obstacle course racing to get better like grip strength. But I just love it. It's really fun, and there's a good like social thing around it. So it's like some good me time. And
Cool.
if you get enough people to go, it's like it can be a girls' night too. So
Yeah.
it's fun.
Sounds fun. I need to think outside the box more. My girls' night activities are like, which restaurant should we go to? Which movie's out? I'm not super exciting.
No,
That
that's
sounds
totally
fun.
fun.
Rock climbing sounds a lot more fun, though.
Yeah, any girls' night's fun though, right?
Yeah, that's true, because they're so few and far between.
Totally.
Okay, so going back to, or not going back to, but let's go on a different tangent here.
Sure.
Something that I think is really cool about you is that you're very hands off with like social media and everything. You're very present in your kid's life. How did that come to be? Like, how did you decide to do that, or how did you make that switch?
I don't know. So I kind of always been like in high school, like my friends would call me and call me, call me, and like I never wanted to like answer the phone. Like I don't know. I loved hanging out with them in person.
Yeah.
And which is hard because it's always been a struggle with me. Like now that there's so many ways to keep in contact with people and like it's great and it should be great, but I love that FaceTime, like that one-on-one time. And so I guess that's kind of always like started translating. I was on social media a lot. It's super fun and I see a lot of good in it. But I just kind of felt like I was trying to like capture more moments than trying to live in those moments. So I kind of let it become more natural to me, and then that's kind of it just phased out. But I'll go back on it sometimes or have like little spurts like where I'm like start Instagramming or Facebook randomly. I don't know.
You kind of want to like check in on what's going on in the cyber world a little bit. Like, hey, I haven't talked to that person. I wonder what they're doing.
Exactly. So like go on Lauren's and then just start like serial liking everything on her page, and then she'll open it up and have like 50 notifications.
That's my sister. She does that to me all the time.
I'm
like,
really?
Are you never on Instagram? It's usually 20 at one time. It's so funny. So I saw a quote once on Instagram actually that said my best moments are not shown on social media or something. And that really hit a chord with me, because how often are we trying to capture the best moments and then ruining them in the process? Like your kids do something really cute, or you're, at some place really cool, and you want to like tell everyone this is so cool, look what we're doing. And I don't even think it's always for bad intent. It's like, you have family members and grandparents and they want to see what you're up to. But then that I felt like for me that turned into I'm missing out on the moment and pulling my phone out and taking a picture of it. I'm not going to need to remember everything. I don't have to have a picture of every breath they took. My parents didn't do that for me, and I still remember a lot,
Right. Yeah.
So that's cool. I admire that. That's really, I have a friend who takes social media fasts, and she'll just go for like a month without being on any social media. And I'm like, how do you do that?
That's awesome.
It's really cool though. I think it's important to teach that kind of FaceTime to our kids so that they don't grow up being completely socially screwed up.
Well, it's hard too though, because like I know you and Lauren are like great photographers, and you have that eye, so you can see something really beautiful, and I could see that urge to capture that. Like I totally get that.
Yeah.
And like you said, like with the grandparents, it's so nice, and they're like I feel like that's probably the most pressure I have with social media is like they're like, I want to see the grandkids.
Sorry. What's going on?
Yeah.
You just need to get Snapchat or something so you can send them a couple photos a day and you don't have to go through posting it anywhere.
Can I get Snapchat? I don't know. I always felt like you have to be like a teenager to get Snapchat.
No. Oh my gosh. You should get it, because that's how Lauren and I keep track of each other's lives. Yeah.
That's awesome. I thought it was like like they want you to be like 13 to be on Facebook. It's like, okay, if you're over 20, you shouldn't be on Snapchat.
That's awesome. Well, look, I just opened a new world. Maybe you would have liked to have kept it the other way, but I don't know. I like it. It's like a quick fix, and No,
that's cool.
I get glimpses into people's lives for, 10 seconds at a time. So it's very, very simple.
Is that the one that disappears?
Yes.
Okay. That's cool. Maybe I'll try it.
Look, I brought you into the fold. You are so awesome. I'm very impressed by everything that you've done. And I love what you said about yourself. Like, you still feel like you're trying to figure out this whole parenting thing. And that is exactly how all of us feel. I think it's so funny that we get to... Did you have this experience when you took your babies home for the first time? Maybe with your oldest especially, where you're like, wait, they're letting us leave? Wait, don't I have to like have some training program? Or do they know that I don't know what I'm doing?
Yeah, you get in the hospital, you're like, oh, everyone's so helpful and taking care of me. And then when you get home, I think for me, it was when my husband went back to work, and I was like, oh no, like it's just me. Like, can I do this? And
am I allowed?
You figure it out, but
yeah.
Yeah, that like, yeah, it is like a very like I don't know, heavy thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
really that moment that hits you that you're responsible for life. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
So I don't even feel like I need to ask you how you kind of like manage your day to day, because I think anybody who eliminated social media and cell phone time out of their day would have so much time to get anything done that they wanted to do. So you probably don't even struggle with that kind of stuff that the rest of us losers are struggling with.
No, no. I mean, I do have um I have group chats like, like the moms in the area,
Oh,
we'll do
cool.
like group chats and we'll like meet up with each other. And so sometimes I'll get a little distracted with that, but it's in good um I can't think of the word.
It's for good reasons.
Yeah, it's like we're meeting up here or they have questions, and so it's kind of like a good support group.
That's awesome.
But it is sometimes like um Travis is like, my husband's like, can you put that on Do Not Disturb? Because it's like at nighttime or something. Like, okay. And then I forget to like take it off the next day. I'm like, oh no. And then I'll put it on, and then like the chat will have had like, so many messages. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I could have probably helped this person, but I had the Do Not Disturb button on.
I feel like I'm getting insight to a few of my different friends. So I'm like, what, where do you not have your phone? Like,
Right.
did you text me and run away? So that's what there must be going on in their heads. Like,
Yeah.
it's not my priority. That's awesome.
Well, it's also, I'm like, this is another thing. Like, you'll text, I don't know, with text messages, I'll like see it come in, I'll read it, and I'm like, okay, I will, when I'm finished doing this and I get the kids in the house and this put away, I'll text them back. But then you just totally forget about it. I don't know if that's
Oh,
just
I do
me,
that all the
but
time, and I
yeah,
feel like the worst friend.
me too. So
And I
it's hard.
promise, like I tell people, I'm like, I'm really busy, but then I'm like, but I shouldn't be too busy to send a message back. But I don't know. Lately, it's been a little bit nuts, but I totally do that all the time. Like, I won't forget. I'll respond
Yeah,
second I sit down. Or you open your phone to do something like that, and you open the wrong thing, and then you're totally in a different world.
right.
It's a
And
world
then
of distraction.
yeah. So I still get it, like I still have that. Not totally immune, but
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to know.
yeah.
Well, I think it's awesome, the stuff that you've had to overcome and work really hard at. I don't think any motherhood journey is easy, but I really admire those like you who have that extra little thing that they have to do that's out of the norm, you know? I mean, adapting to food allergies, that's something that happens to you and you're like, I'm going to deal with this for the rest of their life, you know? This isn't something that you can fix just by, it's not a quick fix. So it's really shows a mother's love and the sacrifices that we make for our children. And I just think that's awesome. I think you're wonderful for all that you do for your family.
Oh, thank you.
So with that, since I answered your question for you, what makes you a marvelous mom, Jayna?
I think it goes back to the being connected,
Mm-hmm.
and staying connected with your family and your children. Um, so we try to do at least, like that FaceTime we try to do over dinner, or we play like a game where we'll talk about something that was our high or our low during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then a thing that I can't take credit for, but we just started was are doing like special mommy daughter date and then daddy daughter dates. We take turns having our special time with the children so that we can have that one-on-one
Mm-hmm.
relationship. And so I just took Parker on a mommy daughter date the other night, and it was just so fun, like to see how much she opened up to me. And we're super close, but it was like fun to see a little bit more of her and I as like a friendship. I mean, I know
Mm-hmm.
she loves me and wants to play with me, but I just really felt that like kind of a more meaningful relationship, and I've had it kind of stepped it up for us. So it was cool to have that connection and that one-on-one time.
That's awesome. I think that's very, 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 very marvelous stuff. I think that's a challenge for most of us is really connecting with our kids and realizing like how fleeting the time is and they're only going to be this age for like a day. Every day they
Yeah.
wake up a little bit older. So that's amazing. And I totally agree with you. I think that does make you a marvelous mom. And I think it's something all of us can strive to do a little bit better. So way to go for owning that. That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks
Hopefully
for
they'll
sharing
want
it.
to hang out with us when they're teenagers.
That's the dream, isn't it? I think you keep it up now, and I don't think that's too far off. I don't think that's too far-fetched to expect, so.
That's such a hard question. It really is,
I
even
know.
though I knew I was going to.
Well, personally, let me just say who I am. I'm just kidding. No, I don't think I've even had to say it yet, so there you go. Maybe I need to start doing that on some episodes, just owning that question that I make everybody else own up to.
Yeah, let me ask you the same question, Kirsten.
What makes me a marvelous mom? That I am willing to create a podcast and admit all my flaws and weaknesses and admit that everyone else that I talk to is a little bit ahead of me.
No, not at all. Not at all. No,
I'm willing to learn.
You're great. That's what I love about this podcast. It really is like bringing moms together, and it was creating that community that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Let's do this together. And they have that quote, it takes a village, and I feel like I see that a lot, like within, whether it's in like a online community or our texting group or the parents at kindergarten, like we
know.
Yeah. There was like a time at the store recently where my son ran off, and you have that like panic of like, oh my gosh, it's just like a little too long, and you're going down the aisles and you're like, where are they?
Yeah.
I start crying, and then like two other moms, like instead of like being like, you're a horrible mom, they're like, we've totally been there. You're okay. Like they were just there for me and like making me feel good, like in a really horrible like feeling, like that brought me to tears and making me feel like I lost my child. But
it's amazing how those experiences can go two ways, and how much better we can make everybody's lives when we choose to do that, to be not judgy, but very supportive, and remember that it could just as easily happen to us. I think that's important. I think that that's why I love the podcast and the community and everything, is there needs to be a lot more positivity, and I love that we're creating that. I'm so amazed at all the moms in the group so far and how they're putting themselves out there, and they're excited to make new friends. It's just so much fun. I love it.
I know. I love it too. And like you and I were talking about, like I do feel like total noob status like all the time, like because I feel like once you get to a certain level, I guess it's like a video game. You're like, oh, I figured this out, and then you're like, oh, next level, gotta level up now.
I love it. That'll be the title of your episode.
Level up your momness, everybody.
That's so great. It's very true, though. Everything always, you're like, even my mom always says, don't get into a routine because it's just going to change. Don't think you're going to figure it out because it's just going to change tomorrow, which is kind of lame and awful sometimes. And you're like, but I worked so hard on this, but it's life. It's mom life. Thank you so much for spending time chatting with me, and I wish you luck in continuing to figure things out, and I'm glad that you're in the community now so that you can share some of the things you've learned. I guarantee there's going to be moms who are faced with the same stuff, with food allergies, and you're going to be a really awesome asset for those moms. So I appreciate you sharing a little bit of your story with us, and maybe I'll come visit you when I come to San Francisco next.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
Perfect.
And thank you so much for the opportunity.
You bet.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. And the rest of you guys, have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow or whenever. Bye.